so far.
Attempting.
Oh, wait. Yeah, I see it.
It says
there
we're
it
live
is.
for 13 seconds, so.
Yep. I can see it.
Goodness gracious.
Here we are, looking good.
Grant, can you type something in the chat real quick? Or Eve?
Feeling good.
Yeah, I will.
I'm going to test this. Okay,
There you
cool. I had an error yesterday when we
Dang
were
it,
streaming
you got there
where
first.
I'm on the dashboard and I can't
I'm a
see.
fast typer.
Oh, Eve, if possible, could you? Oh, you know what? That would mess you up. Eve and I will be both Velen's Chosen Podcast. It'll be a little confusing, but we can both.
Oh, you want me to log out? Oh,
No. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Sticky. That's such a good name.
Sticky.
Sticky. Novelist,
wanna say
congrats
to you
on Legend,
guys-
buddy.
Yes.
I wish
all
I
of
was
you guys
you
who came
every
out
day of the week.
and all you guys who came out and watched the show, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. Who came and saw the UHL? I really appreciate you guys showing up and supporting. It was really kind of you. So, thank you for coming.
Oh,
Every time I played, I was like looking over at the chat, going, "Is everyone going to tell me I did wrong?" And they were all talking about eggs. They were talking
freshly
about
Legend
food.
French toast, Legend and eggs. That's what's going on.
I got some story times. I got to put notes in here for a minute. So.
I think
Green
who was it
Legends
that
and
showed up?
ham French toast. That was sorry. I'm going in on this. I have a couple windows to close really quick and we will get started. Grant and Eve, the topic that I wanted to bring up was the design space around having different hero powers in the game based on what we saw with Monster Hunt and the reiterations of just a different style of how they acquire the Justicar Trueheart hero powers. Whereas before it's like the problem with getting the hero powers wasn't the hero powers weren't strong enough. You know, it's just that
You had to wait until turn.
You had to wait till turn 6 to play a card that didn't
5 or 6.
necessarily fit with your deck, and then you had to engage with it. Now we're seeing stuff like Hunter and
Bye,
Rogue
Bree.
that are like
Hi.
insane. So that's kind of the thing I was wanting to talk about today to get your brains thinking before we start
Okay,
getting
just tee
going.
me up, Rob, and I'll vomit language on you.
Oh, gross! I love it. It's my favorite kind of language, vomit kind.
This is not the Howard Stern show, guys.
Got a ton of
This is-
Chinese food. Oh, buddy.
Okay.
I love Chinese food. That's the worst meme on the internet.
Oh, God.
Okay. Also, if you want to find like a really weird children's thing, like a children's like musical or like an old school 90s television thing with the Mary-Kate and Ashley sisters talking about the pizza song, turn it to like half speed and it sounds like a satanistic seance. It is terrifying.
There's the things I learn when I come and talk to you every week, Rob. You open up my mind. You expand my horizon.
I'm only here to entertain because I obviously can't play Hearthstone this week.
Oh, don't even get me started.
You and the rest
I've
of
been
us.
sitting
Oh.
on the rank 5 floor for weeks. I don't even want to talk about it.
I have to.
We
I've
need
been
to
bouncing
talk
from
about-
5 to full up to 4.
I'll talk a little bit about it.
All right, start recording, guys.
Okay.
Dude, what, Grant? What?
I want to have a segment of the show called "So Now You've Made Legend: What to Expect When You're Not Expecting."
This is a good one.
Yes.
Okay,
What
let's
to
clap.
expect when you're not expecting.
Where's my freaking audacity? There we go.
You guys ready?
All right, here we go. Good to go.
Clap along, chat. Clap along if you hear. Okay, now nothing is
Clap
opening.
along. Clap along.
We may not have
this
music
is like
this
a
week, guys.
sign. This is a sign to me that I should take over OBS. You need to teach me how to do it. I can do it from my end, and then you don't.
My
have
computer
to deal
just
with this.
really doesn't want us to stream today. Okay, here we go. Spicy memes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
3,
1, 2,
2,
3,
3,
4.
4.
See if I can play the music. Not responding my ass. Come on. Kappa clap. 1, 2. Kappa clap. Guys, we may just have to cut the music this week.
Fine.
I mean, you're going to hear it in your nice, spicy earbuds this weekend, but yeah.
You're
I'm
driving down
done
the
with this.
road and can't be playing the Hearthstones, but you just want to listen to it? That's what podcasts are for.
All right, I'm going to check the other. Okay, cool. We got the Warrior set up. Oh, good. Look at that. Okay.
Pass the meatballs.
Oh, we got music. Here we go.
Oh crap.
Just for the intro. I'm not gonna bag the outro. It might work. 3, 2,
Back the outro.
1. 1.5. 19. 45. Blue 42. I
Hey.
don't know. All right, I'm just gonna close it. No music this week, guys. Blame OBS for making me update and screwing up my entire screens today. Also, shout out to Windows 10 for no reason at all, for likely being the culprit.
Windows
Wait for Eve to get
10.
back here.
Windows 10 has single-handedly made the average computer reboot time.
Are you
go
guys
like-
ready for the rage soapbox that we have not really explored on this show?
I am so ready. My body is
I am
prepared, Rob.
generally speaking, our show is the salt of the earth and not necessarily the salt of the game. But boy, howdy, we are bringing the NAC out this week.
This is my syringe of Reddit. This is my arm. Let's
Mine
go.
isn't even Reddit. It's just like all personal experience. It's just like rage box. Yeah, novelist, subscribe. All right.
I wish I could like angry rap stuff, but I'm too white. I can't do that.
All right. I'm gonna
And I'm
clap
sick
in
and
my
so my voice.
microphone
Hey,
just so I know
Eminem
where
is
to
pretty
clip this.
white. He's pretty
Okay.
good at rage rapping.
Okay, that was nice and loud. All right, no music this week, guys.
It's okay. We can add it in post. It's the magic of editing.
What am I looking for? Show notes.
By we, I mean you.
I love Chinese food. All right.
Sorry to go downstairs and yell at my children.
I love Chinese food if it's not like, mostly MSG.
All right.
I always enjoy it while
We're
I'm
gonna go
eating it,
down
and then regret
this
it
rabbit
immediately
trail.
after.
For so long.
Chinese food equals toilet stone.
Happiness. Just like Taco Bell. But it's
My
only
favorite is
temporary.
sesame chicken. Sesame chicken is the best.
All right, before we start the show, let's get this straight. Chinese food in America, for what
It's
it's
not
worth,
real Chinese food.
is not
Yeah.
real Chinese food, as is any
Gaijin
ethnic food that
Chinese
you
food.
try.
Well,
However-
what about sushi?
No.
Just no.
If you want a soapbox, let me tell you, I will get on that sushi soapbox. But here's my hot take. Hot take. Hot food. Hot take. Chinese food. Taco Bell. The epitome of hedonistic lifestyle. Self-preservation and pleasure instantly with regrets for a lifetime after. Sorry, that's a really bad joke.
Taco Bell goes in nice and hot and comes out hotter.
Oh no. Okay, let's
All right.
move on. Let us move on. Next.
My favorite kind of Chinese
Oh,
food dish is
dear.
ramen, Kappa. I have my students making fun of me for telling them that my favorite Japanese food is yakisoba and gyoza, and they're like, lol, that's Chinese food. I'm like, lol, your country made a different name for it, so it doesn't have foreign language, so you decided that it's your food. Also, go to China and see how many times they fry the dumplings, because they don't do it, they only steam it. Suckle? I've been there, okay?
Frying
All right.
is better. Almost
Everybody
always.
Frying
imagine
is
Rob
better.
with the table and flipping it.
Get that crispy outer skin.
All right.
Are we talking about Hearthstone today?
No.
Oh, yes,
Yes.
that's
No.
why we're here.
All right, that's the show,
We're
guys.
like Blizzlet now. We're like sometimes Hearthstone, most times.
Well, the difference between us and Blizzlet is we spend 5 to 10 minutes in the pre-show or 5 to 30 minutes in the pre-show, and we don't record it. Blizzlet just fire up the recorder, let's go. All right.
That's what's charming about them.
By the way, if you want to clip that and send that to them, you can, but I'm not going to be recording that. All right, here we go. Greetings, visionaries. Welcome to Velen's Chosen. We're back at it this week on episode 139. This is the Monster Hunt and Fresca Warrior. Shout out to Fresca. Fresca in the club. This guy is awesome. We've had him on the show once before. He has some really good deck building skills. He's always innovating. I saw him playing an even mage that looked really, really fun. It was bad, but he said it was just a blast to build. But this week, like normal, we're kind of trying to help the competitive players get some footing in the new meta. We're helping you guys if you like Arena occasionally. This week's going to be a little bit more of talking of deck building and also having a little bit more fun with theory crafting around hero powers today. But let me introduce our hosts. My name's Rob. I'm coming from Japan, and all the way up in Canada, we have Eve Martin.
Hello.
And Grant in Texas. What's up, Grant?
Greetings.
Grant also goes by Watchman HS on Twitter, and Eve is the lore master in the area. Eve, are we getting lore this week? Or are we just... We're going to roll it out this week with my week off of just pumping lore out, right? For the...
Yeah, if we had like time towards the end, I was going to talk about some stuff that I've been playing through in World of Warcraft right now.
Okay.
How I kind of ran into a couple of cards. I love it when I run into cards.
Okay.
And then I take little screenshots and put them in our Discord and go, here's what they look like in World of Warcraft.
Nice. Well,
I ran into the darkness.
Oh, the darkness. Ooh, spicy, spicy. Well, we're going to have quite a few soapboxes this week, but before we get into the soapboxes, I want to give you a fair warning that this episode is going to have a little bit more salt than normal, and not the salt of the earth. This is going to be like full-on bloodstream Reddit stuff, because I had a not-so-fun time this week. And
we're going to try and walk Rob off the edge.
Also, I have some medications that make me very grumpy right now, because I've been sick since the last show, and Grant is also just now coming down with something, so you better believe that we're going to take all the excuses we can get for being salty this week. All right, Hearthstone news. This week we have The Brawl, which is a witchy recipe. I did play this, just one and done. Eve, you want to talk through it at all?
It just basically seemed like they took all of the decks that were kind of being played right now in the meta and just made them decks available to people. So I guess for people who don't have the cards and can't play every single class, it was kind of a way for them to just roll in and experience it. Maybe kind of see whether they had enough fun with the deck that they wanted to craft whatever cards it required and things like that. So that was kind of cool. But for people who have been playing a lot and have a big collection, it was just kind of boring because they already have those decks and they already have all those cards. So it wasn't anything like off the rails, fun, brawly. But for the audience that they were going for, I think it was cool. You know, for the casual player who doesn't have all the cards yet, who doesn't have all the legendaries, they could just go, this is what's being played right now. I can click on this and play the Warlock deck that's out there right now or the Shaman deck that's out there right now. So it was kind of neat. It was a good idea.
Grant, you want to talk us through the changes to Shutterwalk that we got hot fixed this week?
Yeah. Well, in case you've been hiding under a rock, you probably know that Shutterwalk animations can take up to 10 minutes. In fact, we mentioned it on the show a couple weeks ago, but the Sky is Toast in like the first couple days of running the deck had an animation sequence that lasted so long he got up and made a sandwich and came back and it wasn't done yet. So they're going to be doubling the animation speed of Shutterwalk's Battle Cry. Hooray! So to lessen the impact of all the pacing that you are currently experience. Additionally, the amount of Battle Cry Shutterwalk can reproduce will be capped at 20, which is interesting. But it'll also be speeding up the animation of Life Drinker and stuff like that, because that thing takes forever. I don't know if you guys
is a very long animation.
Such a slow animation.
It's like buzz, damage, tick tock, oh yeah, heals. You know, I mean,
Not to mention the graphic of
like
the animation of it going out and then doing the damage takes forever, and then it like registers the -3, and then it registers the +3.
Yeah.
And then you can turn like 5 seconds early. You're like, come on.
It made me think of like, there must be like one of those sloths from Zootopia just kind of like sitting there like pushing a button.
Oh gosh.
And then like next part of the
hilarious.
animation.
Yeah.
Sloth.
Now I wanted to mention this too, Grant and Eve. Eve's played a lot of this deck and I did a little bit in the initial stages, but I haven't quite remembered if when you play Shutterwalk into the second one. Okay, so when you play Mumble, for example, it triggers the battle cry twice, which means, in theory, you can have 40 animations for that one sequence because it's a double battle cry, correct?
Ooh. Yeah.
So,
Probably,
that being said, after that point, you're actually going to be able to play Shutterwalk again, right? So, in theory, we get to play Shutterwalk again the next turn. We can play a bunch of them for one, right? So, we play the next Shutterwalk. Does the next one you play trigger the previous Shutterwalk's Shutterwalk?
Yep.
It does.
Yeah,
so they're
because
multiplicative?
It's a battle cry, so yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So then that is where you're going to see this change.
Yeah.
Because
It's gonna
at
be
right
capped at
now, the
20.
combo isn't even up above 14. You basically have Sandbinder is 1, Murmur is 1. Max, this is going off max, but generally speaking, you don't necessarily need all of these to be both. You just need like 1 Life Drinker and 1 Serenite to do it. But
But
like,
if you played them throughout the game, you're going to get that many.
that's
like
right.
if you play Sandbounder twice, you're going to get 2 of them.
Exactly. So let's say in one build, you have 1 Sandbinder, 1 Grumble, 1 Mumble, okay? And then you have 2 Serenites and 2 Life Drinkers. That's 7. So then when you play the double shutter, it's going to play 7 animations twice. So you get 14 animations for the price of 1. And check out. But the next team, the next term, when you play it again, you're going to be getting the 14 animations. And then the following one will do, it'll cap at 20. Whereas the third shutter walk in the past was going to get lots more. So basically, if you're trying to do a 1-turn kill on the following turn, it's going to be significantly weaker, but still really darn strong and arguably still able to complete the OTK. But they're just making it like a little bit more interactive. You can actually play them out and you don't have to wait for an eternity. 20 animations is a lot of animations. I don't know if you know this. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
I think this is the same thing where they went into that repeating thing with Patron
The loop.
Warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were like, we're going to cut this off at a certain
It's the
amount.
same thing with,
otherwise it's just going to keep going on forever.
Again, same reasoning for shutting off the loop with how they reworded Dreadsteed. And then they also did the Defile thing too.
Yeah.
There's a really, really funny combo. I don't know if you've seen Eve, but there's like it's a stupid toast deck in Wild. Basically, you play
of course it's
Patron,
toast.
and then you have like I think it's Patron Warrior basically, but you have like a Death Speaker and a Knife Juggler. And you have like 1, 2, 3 on your
my goodness,
on your patrons,
no.
and Death Speaker makes Knife Juggler go immune. And then you just play Defile, and it goes like, or no,
I've seen that one.
Oh my goodness.
Well, it can't. It's Patron Warlock. That's what it is. Patron Warlock with Defile. So it just goes like boom, 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 and you kill him with daggers. It's hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
He said, "Yep, it still works."
That sounds fun.
Yeah, if you want to look it up, you can go find it on his website. I'm fairly.
But here's the
certain.
thing: there are people who've been calling for a because this is like a nerf to Shutterwalk to give everybody their dust back, basically. And as we've previously discussed with Rob, it doesn't actually take away your ability to get lethal. It doesn't nerf the card at all. Like, you don't need what they're giving you in order to kill your opponent. So it doesn't actually affect it.
There was a
efficacy?
collective number of people that were upset with this change at 0. So
I think that they just jump right on it and be like, oh, I can get dust somehow if I complain, but it's not legitimate.
Also,
like,
I would like to say that even if Shutterwalk was broken, the fact that they gave it at least a little bit of time basically shows that they had their design, testing, and final design team like basically run the gamut with how they wanted to address the change, roll a couple tests internally, see what they kind of felt was good. And this is why you don't or can't roll out a change that's very, very simple immediately. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, there's a good chance that this is something they said that they wanted to adjust later on internally. And that, I mean, thinking about games and stuff, they probably had to rush out a few things. It sounded like Shutterwalk was like the last thing on the table to like tie up loose ends. They maybe just needed a couple more weeks to figure it out. They got it. It's fine. So don't worry about it.
And I'll say the same thing I did week 1. I don't want them to be scared to make cards like this. I don't want them to kind of hold back and play it safe and not take these risks. Because, yeah, sometimes we get people going, I hate this card. It's the worst thing that ever happened to the game. But sometimes we get super cool, interesting things. Mm-hmm. And so I want to give them time to adjust it. I want to give them time to react to player feedback and stuff and fix it and not immediately just jump off the edge, because I want them to feel like they can take risks and we'll be okay with it. And we want to immediately grab the pitchforks and the torches and go for them.
Yeah.
All right. Last up in the Hearthstone news, Eve, UHL update.
Right. So I had a match against Fresca, and it came down to game 5. So
Ooh.
I'm improving. I lost. I did win 2 games, and then he won 2 games, and then when we came down to the last one, he beat me. I was playing Spell Hunter, Face Rogue, and Zoo Warlock. And the Zoo Warlock was kind of like my weakest deck that I wasn't as comfortable with, so I lost with that one. But yeah, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about UHL for maybe those of you who have played in tournaments and those of you who never have. It's been a real experience, the difference between ladder and playing tournaments, because you want to work on specific matchups every time. The way UHL works is you have to pick a different class every time you go and play. You can't keep bringing in like your favorite decks and your strong decks. Every time you go and play against a new opponent, you have to bring 3 new classes. And every time you win, you can't play that class again until you kind of come back around. Like you've used up all 9 classes and you come back to the beginning and then you can start again. So the opening week of a brand new expansion, I had to have 3 good decks from 3 different classes. And then the next week, 3 completely different decks from 3 completely different classes. And I did not have all the cards. I didn't know all the decks. I did not have time to practice 6 different classes. So it was quite an experience. It was kind of stressful. And you can't really practice on ladder at all because you have no idea what your matchups are going to be. After you put in which classes you're bringing, you're allowed to see which classes your opponent has decided to bring. So as soon as you both lock them in, you can see what they're going to be playing, even though you don't know what decks they are. So I could see, okay, he's bringing Warrior, Shaman, and what was the third one? Druid, I think. But I have no idea which ones they are. And the meta is like so all over the place. So maybe it's this kind of Warrior, maybe it's this kind of Shaman. But then you can't go into ladder and go, I'm going to queue up against Shaman over and over again.
Yeah.
You could queue up against Mage and Paladin, and like all of this playtime is not doing you any good when you specifically want to practice against a specific class. So it was really hard.
Do you want to highlight the also side nature of UHL where it is geared for A, community involvement, B, entertainment, and C, fun for the participants and viewer, and not necessarily a full spike tournament for money and points and stuff. So we want to make sure that that is a disclaimer when we talk about UHL each week.
There were a lot of people that just brought like fun, crazy decks that they thought were interesting. Like the very first week, someone brought Quest Paladin and won with it, and it was amazing. And Ziggy Sarah, just I think it was yesterday, brought a Freeze Shaman with Murabi and Cryostasis and like all the freeze cards and won with it. You know, so it was, there's definitely people out there that are just going, whatever, I don't have the time to practice every single meta deck and know it inside out and bring it to the tournament, so I'm just going to have fun with it. And they have a lot of success because the other person has no idea what they're going to play next and has no idea what's in their deck and doesn't know how to counter it. And so that is definitely a way to go. And the community's been very supportive. Everybody showing up to watch the games and like cheer everybody on, and that's been really fun. But yeah, I've totally taken this in a spike way, which is on me. And I wanted to be as prepared as possible because it's the very first time I did any kind of tournament like this. And so when I started to see that there was a lack of support for it, and you have to reach out to friends that you have and say, can you play this deck against me multiple times? That was kind of a little frustrating and stressful. So I am looking forward to whatever they're going to put up for a tournament mode. And I hope that that is going to help people down the road be able to prepare for tournaments in the future.
Grant, did you have any comments on that?
No, I was just saying that I remember when I talked to Ferris Biscuit in January. He had invited me to be in it, and at the time I was just way swamped, and I didn't want to. I'm like you, Eve. I'm kind of a spike, and I didn't want to like say, yeah, it sounds great, and then not prepare and stuff like that because that's who I am. But he was very clear. It's like, look, the point of the league was to bring the community together and use a lot of, at least initially, he wanted Hearthstone podcasters to kind of, because a lot of us are hubs for the different communities, and that would just draw our Hearthstone communities together. And the sense of it was, we're having a league to have fun, not just to win. You know what I mean? And honestly, I don't know about you, but I would rather watch Trollden than like tournament stuff, the actual legit tournament for the most part. I'd rather watch the goofy, silly, crazy stuff because it's entertaining. Granted, I can watch a really sweet play and go, "Oh man, that's incredible," but I find more enjoyment
I mean,
in
you
terms
see
of just
that in
like
Trolldom
entertainment.
too.
You know?
You see the crazy moments in the tournaments, but
True,
they don't
true.
happen as often. You know.
Yeah, and I'm not saying one is superior to the other, but I'm merely just saying that entertainment and novelty have their place and they're valuable.
Right.
So,
And I wanted to
yeah.
highlight a little bit more of kind of the internal struggle with doing tournaments like this. This is not necessarily something that I wanted to mention with UHL in particular, but just the format in and of itself. When you do something like this, you kind of ask every player that's participating to have 9 different classes that they A, feel comfortable playing, B, something they want to have fun with, and or C, as a third option, just somebody that actually wants to compete. Like if they want to play something that's both good, like the Johnny moments, they want to compete, but they also want to have fun. They want to have a spike moment. They want to be super competitive and just play meta stuff, or they just want to have, Timmy moments where they play cryostasis and Murabi and sometimes, win the 20%ers, right? So, and I'm not saying that Ziggy Sarah's not a bad player. I'm just saying like
She won.
She
3-0.
won. Right. So she
swept
definitely
it.
won. And she won with a weird deck. It's possible. You
Yeah.
can catch your opponents by surprise by winning things that they're not prepared for and they don't know what's in it. So I just want to highlight this because Eve and Grant and I have different financial restraints on what we can do within the game for our family budgets. For me, it's not that big of a deal to have, a butt ton of cards, buy some Overwatch stuff here and there, have a little bit of things for us because of how I've been supported on another show, as well as our financial situation as a family. And the last most important point, I don't have kids. So,
True story.
Grant and Eve have families that are full supporting and they're working on these things. And Eve really wants to participate. She's probably fitting more into a spiky Johnny, somebody that really wants to compete, but also really wants to have fun at the same time. So she's in these moments where she's like dusting some of her wild cards so she can play like Crowley in the current moment and wants to play this warrior deck and she doesn't have Reckless Flurry. So it's like, what do you do? And even in this moment, it's like, even if you get 70 packs for the new expansion, like just out of thin air, that doesn't exactly solve your issue. I mean, it's like multitudes of sets, right? You got to like fill out the whole collection. It's not just one thing. So we're kind of at a crossroads.
And I mean, if I had the entire expansion to slowly over time acquire cards, I'd be able to do it. But if you have to have all 9 classes within 3 weeks and have like a viable deck for all 9 classes in 3 weeks, and that has been, I've dusted so many gold cards. I went back into my wild collection and like cried as I dusted legendaries that haven't seen play.
I dusted my golden
Zero
Zeril yesterday.
Oh yeah, it was rough, but I was like, I made a commitment to do this, and I want it to be an experience. I don't want to half-ass it, and I want to do it properly. And so I've been trying my best, maybe stressing a bit more than I need to, honestly, probably putting a bit more on me than I have to. But I'm learning. Like that's what I wanted this to be when I said yes to them, when they said, do you want to join? And I said yes, is I wanted to experience it, what it's like. And I am learning a ton. Like I'm learning a lot about tournaments and preparing for them and kind of the limitations of the client at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Grant has been slowly proselytizing both Eve and I to stop keeping our golden cards. Very, very effectively, I might add. I still am holding on to a couple of my shinies.
Together nicely.
I'm holding a lot of my shinies, but not all of them. And most of them are classic cards that it's like, if you have Karen Bloodhoof in golden and you don't have the regular one, are you going to go and dust it? No, because you don't have the regular one. So I have some goldens that I still have left over that I can't dust. So
yeah, Karen's pretty good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is back when I was buying like Hearthstone packs like every month, trying to fill out my collection. So back when I was in the States and not trying to support our new life here, which is interesting to say the least. That's an awkward segue. Let's get out of this discussion and go into Monster Hunt.
Okay, Rob, tell me. What is it? What made you so angry?
I won't say
Let
that.
the salt
that's super
begin.
inappropriate. I almost made a really inappropriate joke. Okay. So for starters, Monster Hunt released this week. It's an exciting PvE mode for some of us. And there are 4 different things. It's like Dungeon Run. You'll have some of the treasures that you got in Dungeon Run will show up again in this mode, aka like the Potion of Vitality that doubles your health. They'll have a couple other things that you'll see, like the mana crystals, or all of your spells cost 1 less, or you have a passive of +3 spell damage for the rest of your run. Those are the type of things you'll be seeing. There's some new ones, like all of your minions have +3 health or +2 health. All of your minions have +1 attack or +2 attack if you hero power this turn, or for every time you hero power this turn, I think for Crowley. Some of them are unique per person, which is really unique. And all of the 4 things are not actual classes. So there is a Houndmaster. There is the Houndmaster is Houndmaster Shaw, Darius Crowley, Tess Greymane, and Toki Time Tinkerer. So they all have a shorter name. It's like Houndmaster, Cannoneer. I don't forget what Tess is. She might be like the Rogue or the Assassin or something like that.
No,
And
it's
then-
Tracker, I think.
Tracker.
I think
That's
it's Tracker.
And
Yeah.
then they have the Tinkerer, which is obviously, Toki.
Toki.
So they all have their own hero powers, which we hadn't seen yet up until this point. And the hero powers are for the Cannoneer, you fire it. It's a non-interactable thing like the darkness on the board, and it fires 1 shot out of it like the chess match, where it'll shoot a cannon shot for 1 damage out. And it'll hit anything in the air. But if there's 2 things positioned between it on the other side of the board, you can shoot 2 shots. And then if you kill something with it, it'll refresh and you can use it again. It still costs you 2 mana, but you can do it. That's Cannoneer. Test will let you discover a spell that was played that game if there's no current spells. She'll give you a 0 mana rock you can throw for 1 damage. Anything you want.
So
Like a piece
awesome.
of
And let me tell
charcoal.
you, if it's turn 2 and there's no spells against the Echo Wraith boss that lets you all of your spells echo and you have a 0 mana rock, you can literally just 60 to 0 them in 1 turn. And I heard one of our guys did that this week, and that was really, really cool. For me,
That's
I had a
hype.
+3 spell damage on turn 8, and all of my spells were like they're still 1 mana, or like I was playing Toki. And I had Arcane Missiles in turn. So that is a 6 damage Arcane Missiles 8 times. So that was how I got lethal. That was really fun. Let's see. Who am I missing? Test. Discover the spell. Cannoneer. Houndmaster. Houndmaster has Summon a 1/1 Bloodhound with Rush, which is pretty cool. Basically, the little hound can jump out, and if you have the +2 to health, they're 1/3s with Rush, which is really busted.
Yeah.
You can also get the one where they have like +2 attack, so now they're 3/1s with Rush, which is pretty good too. Toki has a 0 mana spell or hero power that lets you refresh your turn at the start of the turn. So it took me a little while to kind of figure out why Toki's is good, but basically Toki over the course of the whole thing has a bunch of RNG effects: Unstable Portal, Arcane or Primordial Glyph, Mad Bomber. Arcane Missiles.
She lets you take 2 turns every turn?
Not 2 turns. It lets you redo your current turn.
So go back to the beginning and try again?
Yes. So if you mulligan, you throw all 3 of your cards away, draw 3, hit the button, you can redo your mulligan, I think. Is that right, Grant? Or no? Maybe the mulligan's wrong, but
I don't
basically
know.
you can play
With
like an
Toki,
Arcane
I didn't
Intellect.
get a chance to play her yet.
Yeah, you can play Arcane Intellect, draw 2 cards. If you think they're crap or you don't really want to play that turn, you can hit Do-Over. And you don't play the card. You just try it again. Or you can play Mad Bomber,
So
Arcane
she
Missiles.
rewinds time and puts you back to the beginning of your turn,
Yes, and it doesn't cost
resetting
you
everything
anything.
that you've done.
Yeah. it
So if
doesn't
you
cost
cast
anything.
a minion, she pulls it back and puts it into your hand.
Yeah, and you don't get any benefits of damage. Like if you deal damage and then you refresh the turn, they go back to what their current health was at the start
So
of the
you
turn.
get a redo. Okay.
It's a do-over. But the
Interesting.
do-overs are necessary for her current build because you've got like super RNG heavy cards like Unstable Portal and
Mad Bomber.
Mad Bomber and Arcane Missiles and stuff like the like. So here's the soapbox where I can't stand it. I've played over 35 bosses with Toki right now.
Oh
Right.
no.
And I still can't do it. And it's not so much that I can't do it as much as it is rage inducing. And I'm missing lethal on like turn, like boss 2, boss 3, and losing on them because it's really, really aggravating. When you have RNG in Hearthstone, it's fine. It happens. You roll the dice. Sometimes it's like 0.4%. It happens. But when you do Toki and you get screwed by RNG in general, it doesn't feel good. And it's more memorable, as we've heard in the past. It's more memorable to be screwed by RNG than, yeah, Blingtron's the other one. Sorry. It's more, it's rage inducing and tilting when you get bad RNG.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more memorable than it is when you lose it than when you win it.
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry. But when you get a do-over button and it happens again, it is more than double as memorable and over double than, like, well over double rage-inducing. So imagine playing a game where you play Mad Bomber and Arcane Missiles and all 6 hit face, and then you do it again and only 1 missile hits the minion you're trying to kill, and it has 2 health left. And the Mad Bomber hits you in the face 3 times. This is not something that didn't happen. This is something that did happen. Also, imagine playing Unstable Portal and getting a Wisp, and playing it again and getting a Murloc Raider. What's the other one that I played?
Oh my god! So basically, you just had really, really bad luck over and over and over again.
This one's brutal. So I had this thing in Toki that's one of the cool things where the first spell you play that turn is a treasure will recast that spell automatically again for no additional cost. Mm-hmm. And I'm playing the Echo boss. Then I'm like basically out of cards, and I top deck a Cabal's Tome. I'm like, oh great, I can actually come back from this. Play Cabal's Tome. I get 6 spells because it casts twice. And I kid you not, 2 of the spells are that new freeze spell that's awful. One of them is Freezing Potion, and the other one is Shatter. And I do it again. And guess what it is? It's
all Glacial Mysteries.
Glacial Mysteries, Pyroblast, Firelands Portal, and then, like, I can't even remember the other ones because I was just so tilted. I was just like, I'm dead. I'm like, I need something to play right now, and I get all these 7 mana spells or higher. And I was like off the face of the earth. And I do understand you can test secrets, Ben. I understand that you can do the redo not as often. It doesn't matter. I played the boss like 40 games. It's infuriating. And there's also some bosses in this at level 6 or 7 that have the Jungle Giants quest that can discount his whole hand over and over and over as a hero power. And he has just bazillions of giants and giant anacondas and mana ramp cards like the Grove Tender. And I have yet to beat that guy on any of the 4 boss guys. And I've already cleared the Houndmaster Shaw one. So anyways, my soapbox is ended, but Toki is one of the things in the game that has made me the most upset I've ever been at Hearthstone, has been playing this. Ever.
Interesting.
Having a redo button at bad RNG to do it again is exponentially infuriating. And imagine, my mind doing this. Imagine somebody who actually really doesn't have tolerance for this, aka Rod Johnston. He was also agreeing with me. He said, this is the worst thing Hearthstone has ever done. And I'm in the same camp. I think Toki is awful. It's so
Here's
aggravating.
The thing, though. You know what they could do is, you know how they upped the odds of the cards that you get out of Elise's pack being like epics and legendaries?
Yeah.
What they should do is like up the odds of all of your random effects being positive for you the second time around.
The worst part is like doing it again
mechanically,
and you're like, okay, I got something really crappy the first time, so I'm gonna do it over and get something like average. No. You reroll your primordial glyph, or I'm sorry, not your primordial glyph. I don't even remember what the spell was. It was the spellcaster, the 3/4 minion that you play on the board, gives both players a random spell. I can't even remember his name.
Spellbender?
Spellslinger. First time gives you a potion of freezing. Next time gives you Cataclysm from Warlock. Bottom right. I was so mad. I could not like get anything going. Because it's like these games where you have like +3 spell damage and your spells are discounted by 1. You're like, I have all these spell cards. I got these big minions that I have for bombs later. I've got elementals to help generate spells and cards. I'll be fine. I go in there. I have a really solid deck, like 4 runs in a row. Get the boss 6 and 7, and I can't win because double RNG like decided to just bend me over and give me a nice spanking before I left. I was like, I can't. I'm done.
All in the name of getting what, a card back?
Yeah, all for 1 card back and a crack at getting more rage-inducing games to try to play against Hagatha. So I haven't even experienced Hagatha yet because Toki's been tilting me off the face of the planet. So anyways.
All I've heard is that she's hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So narrative aside, this is time for me to introduce a discussion topic that actually matters, where it's not me just being upset and rightfully so in my own mind. So if you guys don't like this section, sorry. This is what happens when Rob's on medication, been sick for 6 days, playing Toki Time Tinker in order to cool down and enjoy your time when you are awake. And yeah, just have nothing but anger left for the game. So here's what I would like to do is, Toki aside, Cannoneer, Tess Greymane, and Houndmaster have been fantastic. These hero powers are so cool that I wanted to discuss this with our co-host. There is something that we talked about in the pre-show, which was when we first got the upgraded, quote-unquote upgraded hero powers, we saw that some of them were more useful than others, right? Like hero powering and costing no mana for you, or sorry, not using the Warlock hero power to not take damage, basically irrelevant. Choosing what totem you want didn't really matter. And what we thought when we got, you know, the 6 mana 6/3 in Justicar Trueheart that upgraded the hero power, we thought was that Hunter hero power wasn't able to really utilize it because you have to like draw Justicar to get it. And same with Rogue. Rogue was like, well, who cares? Because I can't get it until after turn 6. Game. It's too late.
Yeah. You need it at the beginning of the game. Right.
So these hero powers were super powerful. You just couldn't have access to them. And now we have Baku, which means turn 2, you can play these. And you can play a lot of it. You get a ton of value. And so some of these lower tier hero powers weren't necessarily bad print or bad made, but they were instituted in such a way that now that you have access to them and you have a deck building restriction, it makes using them really, really good. And then we got the secondary version of the hero powers with the Knights of the Frozen Throne and Haggis of the Witch.
The Death Knights.
And the Death Knights. So hero cards and Death Knights. And additionally, we can't leave out our good old boy that pioneered the space, Jiraxis. Major Domo Executus.
Yeah,
and
Ragnaros.
the Warrior Quest. Okay?
Yeah.
Also, shout out to cards that didn't really make it, which was the Hunter card. It's a Beast Mastery card.
Could give your minions +2/+2, or your beast
+2/+2.
The Weedle.
Beast +2/+2.
Steam Weedle Sniper also let you aim.
That's what I
target
was thinking of. And Sideshow
Spell Eater.
Sideshow
Steal your
Spell Eater. I can talk.
So,
Sideshow Spell
anyways,
Eater.
this is something that I thought.
Isn't that fun?
With how cool Houndmaster's hero power was, I really like what we've had with Hunter for so long, but I would really like to have that kind of a hero power.
And Shadow Anduin.
That's Knights of the Frozen Throne, isn't it? Oh, you're talking Shadow Form.
Shadow Form. Yes.
And Mind Spike if you upgrade it.
Original. Yeah.
I would really, really love to see Hearthstone in the future sets really explore that space some more. Make it so that you get access to new hero powers sooner and less restrictive on when you draw the cards. Or if you're going to make something super powerful, do it like you did Knights of the Frozen Throne, right? You like get these huge bombs, you draw it, it's mega strong, and it gives you some armor, gives you a whole new interaction when you play the card, and you get the thing. That was a really smart move. You give the draw restriction, and then you play it and you do something, but you can't necessarily always access it right away. But then you get this huge value game at the end. I love that. Then you have the other things where you have Houndmaster Shaw, where I personally think this is a hot take. So for what it's worth, I think Houndmaster Shaw is a way better with design for what Hunter could have than 2 mana shoot him in the face. I love summoning a hound and attacking on the board. Even the animation of having these 2 little paw prints come out. But anyways, I'll stop talking. You guys discuss. What do you think?
You always have a beast to trigger your beast things. Yeah, I think that's really cool. What I was thinking was, like, how could they continue on with this and keep it within kind of like the lore, but also give us new hero powers because they're not going to do Death Knights again. And I was thinking in World of Warcraft, every class has more than one specialization. So with Warrior, you have like Fury Warrior, you have like the Protection Warrior and different things. And then with mages, you have Arcane, you have Frost, you have Fire. So if there was a way that you could switch in the middle of the game, or like Rob says, at the beginning of the game, so that your hero power was more like keyed to that, like your mage could become now a fire mage, and then that affects your hero power in some way, and that also may affect the rest of the cards in your deck. That could be a really interesting way to go. Hunter has different specializations. They have marksman. They have a trapping kind of. What's it called? Survival, and which has to do with traps and stuff like that. And then they have Beastmaster, which has to do with pets
and marksmanship.
So if there was a way, like a hero power card, that you could change your specialization to be the specific thing, and then that would affect the theme of your deck in that way, or would have to do more with beasts, or would have to do more with direct damage spells, or would have to do more with traps.
Yeah.
That could be really cool.
Especially with the new cards we got, like Clockwork Automaton and Blackwall Pixie. We got those 2 cards now. And it would spice up Wild
the damage
a lot.
And healing, and also refreshes. Yeah, so that's really cool. I think that Monster Hunt for me was immediately more fun and exciting because of the new hero powers. Because Dungeon Run was fun, but you were still playing with the same old hero powers and the same old hero and the same old cards. I mean, you got the treasures, which was the most exciting part of it, but you still had just the rest of the cards that we already play with and the same hero that we already play with. So Monster Hunt was immediately more interesting and more engaging because it was a new character and new hero power. So I think you're onto something. It's definitely a way that I think they should go in the future, is giving us different ways to change our hero power.
Dynamancy. Yeah, that's the card.
I think what it does is people would like it for the same reason that, like, when you play WoW, you never just have one character that you play, right?
Right.
Most people who play WoW, like, they build a character, they spec it up, they build it out, they kind of exhaust what they like or think they like about it, and then they, you know what, I don't want to be a hunter anymore, I'll play paladin. And they go play paladin, and they do that, and they kind of cycle through all the different types of builds because there's interest in it, there's identity in it. And I think maybe if they had, you know, one thing I really like about the current set is that the Baku and the Gen mechanics happen right at the beginning of the game. There's no, well, I wonder if I'll draw Justicar to get the hero power, you know.
Well, I mean, still, like, to interrupt again a little here, is that Baku and Gen still restrict what's going on in order to balance. So you're getting a powerhouse of the hero power and something different, but you're also restricting your deck by saying evens or odds, and you have to include this one card that's basically just anti-tempo when you play it.
Well, like Spell Hunter, right? If they were like, in order to activate this hero power, your deck can't have any minions in it.
There's some sort of restriction on it.
Right there, and all of a sudden at the beginning of the game, your hero power changes to be something that's like more spell-centric or something like that. Or
you could have it like you put a card in your deck, so it eats up a slot, which can be a detractor, right? That gives you the option to pick a different hero power. So like you have to pick your, you put a card in that casts at the beginning of the game, or it's like a quest where it's a 1-cost card that you get at the beginning of the game. You pick hero power A or hero power B, whatever that is, and you pick it based
you
on your matchup.
restricted with the quests, or you restricted with the hero power, or the Death Knight. Yeah, that makes sense.
The penalty you pay for having that option is that it eats up a spot in your deck.
Yeah, because when Baku, if you top deck Baku, that feels bad.
Yeah.
Like
sometimes it's okay, but it's still it's like you're saying, look, you get this benefit, you restrict your deck by saying you can only do this, and then last, by the way, you only have 29 cards left that you can choose. So, also, I'm Achilles in the chat said something. The issue with this is, in theory, is trying to balance not just 9 hero powers but 28, which means
slowly, right?
And I was like, well, time out. Well, time out.
As one card.
They're not balancing 28 hero powers. They're balancing the hero powers and then the additional effects of the other heroes. So all of the other hero powers that they had with Justicar Trueheart were balanced when they designed them. So this isn't a redesign on those hero powers. What it is a redesign on something to make odds and evens capable. And doing so, they can introduce new cards by saying, this new hero power is balanced by how we restrict the way you get it.
Right.
Like Grant was saying.
It makes it weaker because, like, you can't put Consecration in an odd paladin, you know, things like that. So, or Call to Arms.
Or the quest. Grant brought up a great point with the quest, because, like, you could definitely do some more experiments with the quest. Like, they've only done one with Unguro. We could do, like,
right, like you have to do a certain amount of things during the course of the game, and then all of a sudden you get this hero power.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a quest mechanic. It can be an option mechanic. You know what I mean? Like, so rather than you having quest card appears in your hand first turn, you know, okay, do the X, Y, and Z, and then you get like some cool thing that happens. You can just say, okay, well, this card's in your hand. When you cast it, you switch your hero power. Boom, perma switch. You know what I mean?
There has to be some kind of cost to that. You
Well, it
say
would be tempo
that it's
negative.
just like the fact that you have this card in your deck period is enough of a cost to outweigh
Well,
choosing
it's
to put it
tempo
in your deck.
negative to play it on turn 1, if depending on what
Right.
you're doing. So, like if you're a
And
hunter,
messes your mulligan.
you know, so it eats a spot in your mulligan. You know, there's a lot of disadvantages to it that could innately make it balanced, but it's also one of those things that's like, is that what people really want? You know, yay or nay? It
I think
seems like
so. I think over time we are a little bored of having the same hero powers, and I think that's why DKs work so well. And
or are we just being like really dazzled by the sort of the focalization of hero powers in this current set? And like, oh wow, they haven't done this before. But then if they do that again, will we be as excited about it? I don't know. I mean, I wonder if
it's
that's
just
something we
that
really
I
care
feel
about,
like they
because
haven't done in like they just started introducing it now, and like now that we've seen what they're capable of doing just by messing around with changing your hero portrait, giving you a new hero power. It is definitely, like, at least for me as a player, and what they said when they made Jiraxis initially, they've said multiple occasions, Jiraxis is one of the best cards they've ever designed in Hearthstone. Because of how it interacts, how it changes the game, how it shifts everything over, the whole story of the game, summoning elementals, something super powerful with a trade drawback. You know, there's all kinds of things like this. And so when they did Knights of the Frozen Throne, that was also one of the centerpieces. People love Death Knights, regardless of how much they hate what Blood Reaver Gul'dan, Void Lords, and all that shenanigans with Q Block. Death Knights are really, really freaking cool.
Death Knights are my favorite cards by far.
Yeah, I think they really hit a home run with that. And so going forward, I agree. I think that the thing that stayed the longest in this game, besides the classic cards, is the hero power. And at some point, you're just like, I do want to try something new. I want to try something different. The only thing that they might say against it is that it does change the archetype a lot. Like if you have an idea of what a hunter is and how a hunter plays and their, what word am I looking for, Rob? The
class identity.
The feel. Yes, thank you. Class identity. That is going to go out the window. If you're all of a sudden going to have like,
well, like you said, Eve, it's just backtracking on what you said earlier, where you don't have to mess with class identity because you have it housed in what they have in Warcraft. So you basically just call back to that, and you can use those as class identifications, and you kind of just shift them. The only class that they've really, really historically had issues with struggling around has been Rogue. And that's because of how powerful their class identity is in Warcraft versus in a card game.
Well, so it's just straight up DPS. Like Rogue doesn't have really any alternate.
It's burst, which is really, really hard to balance around. So
that would be the only one they'd have difficulty kind of giving a different.
And I think they've done a good job. This is a good discussion. I'm confident that we can always revisit in the future if you guys want. But I think we need to keep moving. And I'm going to turn it over to Grant with a deck that we were graced with by virtue of our man and yours, Fresca, with the Warrior deck. I'm going to shift our screen so you guys can check out this deck as Grant talks us through.
So, we've been, well, let's put it this way. This month for me, and I think Eve can probably relate, has been an interesting month in that hit rank 5 really fast, climbed up to 4, and then the set got released, and I sat at 5, having probably played hundreds of games.
I got to rank 3.
Oh, you did? Oh, you're better than me this month then. I never got to rank 3. I got to rank 3 in Wild, but that was before the set dropped. I've been toying around with a lot of stuff. I haven't really been. I want to make a legend every month, but the truth is if I don't sweat it too much. I don't.
Yeah.
My hyper try hardness has been abated. I feel like I've proven what I need to prove, and I'm not.
I think for me it's because I only did it in Wild, and so my brain kind of goes, "You still haven't done it in Standard yet." So that's kind of my problem.
Well, Standard, to be fair, is a different animal. Not easier, not harder, just different. It's just a different mode of thinking, and when you have a wider swath of people, you just get more variety. But so I have one golden class set yet to complete, and that would be Warrior. And so there's this pretty sweet deck that Fresca posted that we wanted to talk about today. Kind of change up the mix, because a lot of what we're seeing in Warrior is Rush Warriors and Quest Warriors. Those are the two that you're more than likely to see. So we have a Control Warrior. Now this particular deck is straight up legit, like I'm gonna outvalue you. Basically, I call it Nope Warrior because it has a big giant nope for everything you want to do. Shout out to Zalay. Yes.
I'm looking at the Fresca Warrior list that I have and the one that you put in the show notes, and these are a little different.
Which warrior do I have then?
You have Dalesom's list, I believe.
Dalesom's. Okay, then shout out to Dalesom.
Okay. Well, the list
This
that
is
you're
the one I
seeing
was
on screen
playing.
is the wrong one. Hang on. I'll adjust
Okay.
this.
Switch that up.
Okay.
My bad.
Cool.
Okay. Well, anyways,
proper
keep
credit.
talking.
Yeah.
So, no radio silence. So this deck is a straight up control list. Basic goal is to outvalue your opponent, get armor as much as you can, stay alive until they run out of options or can't do anything else to you. I learned a really cool way of explaining decks from Zalay's stream. I think Wicked Good posted the sweet breakdown of Taunt Druid, what we talked about last week, but Zalay had a pretty interesting version of it. And he basically went card by card, talked about what card each card does, not just read off the list and say, these are the cards in it, have fun. He talked about what each card did, kind of how you want to use it. If
It's value in the deck.
It's value in the deck, it's value in the mulligan and things like that. So I'm going to try that approach today because I really liked it and I thought it very useful, and it helped me really understand things I was doing good and things I can do better, and maybe even some things I was doing wrong. So basically, like I said, the goal of the deck is to outvalue your opponent, survive, clear their board, run them out of options. You might go to fatigue or go down the last couple cards of your deck. So if you don't want to do that on a regular basis, then don't
My
play this deck.
favorite kind of deck.
Steve, you will love playing this deck. I'm sure you will like it. So, haha. The the truth is there's a lot of decks that do this. Like Taunt Druid does things like this, and so does Q-Block. It's not uncommon to get very low into the bottom of your deck in those decks. So if you've played either of those decks, this deck feels similar in terms of how the games tend to go along. So we'll start out. It has 2 copies of Shield Slam. Shield Slam is your big removal. It doesn't actually eliminate your armor, which is nice. You can clear big fatties with it if you need to. I like saving this particular removal, if I can, for later in the game, because that's when the bigger stuff comes out and hopefully you have some armor to deal with. But if you need to remove something that's kind of important that you just need off the board, then use it. Whirlwind is your anti-paladin tech. You don't want paladins to get those 1/1s up there and then buff them with level up, and then you have a bunch of 3/3s you can't do much to. There's 1 Acolyte in Pain for draw. Good to keep against faster decks that run smaller minions, so you can likely get 2 pings out of it. There are 2 Blackwalled Pixies in this deck. Kind of the idea is that kind of sort of later game hero power Blackwalled Pixie hero. So for 7, you get a minion plus 8 extra armor, which can save your bacon depending on how effective you've been against, say, like a Hunter or somebody like that, because they're going to try and burst you down, because traditionally Hunter has been very good against Control Warrior because they can get stuff going and hit you with their hero power and
they can ignore your
things
taunt.
like that. They can ignore your taunts. They can ignore a lot of what you do. So if you have a mitt full of spells and Hunter just gets a couple minions down, and they can hit you in the face a couple times and then just burst you down from there, it's generally favored. But Blackwalled Pixie can kind of waylay them on their quest for that. It has 2 Fiery War Axes, which is interesting because everybody's like, oh, Fiery War Axe costs 3, it's dead. But Fiery War Axe is basically going to save your bacon against things like Vicious Fledglings, Mana Worms,
Mid-game.
Northshire
Clerics, and potentially comboing out like the Hench Clan Thugs, things like that. You got to be able to get rid of those things. Ironbeak Owl, same kind of story. Really, more or less, to save your bacon from something getting out of control, like an Edwin or like maybe a Interfire Priest, things like that. Mind Control text. It is a Baku. Oh yeah, this is, by the way, a Baku list. I probably should have said that at the front. So everything is odd costed. And oddly enough, despite the fact that it's all a Baku list, yeah, how odd. Cannot even. That's the pun. There we go. So the thing is I didn't, when I was first looking at it, I didn't realize, maybe just call me dense, call me sick, call me tired, call me whatever you want. Just don't call me Shirley. I didn't realize it, and I was like, because the deck seems very tight in terms of like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Why is this here? That's why that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. Mind control texts are in there because, well, sometimes when you're playing this deck, your opponent, you'll be managing them, but there'll come a turn where they get a pretty decent sized board. 4 minions or more is not hard for them to do at some juncture in time. Mind control text can really kind of take the winds out of their sails. Even if they don't grab like the big fatties, it can give them something to where they realize, dang, I'm running out of options. I can't give them. I can't, let them have. You can't let them have everything on the board. So you take a couple things, and then they have to kind of trade their guys into it so that you don't get even more control than you're trying to get.
And once you see one mind control tech, you are waiting for the next. Like usually people run 2, so now you're like, okay, I can't put 4 minions down.
Right.
Because he's gonna grab one.
Yeah. I mean, if you're playing against it, you kind of just have to go for it to a degree because, I mean, you don't want. I mean, you got to be smart about it. But if you play around it the whole game, you're gonna lose because you'll never get enough momentum. Mind control tech, Reckless Fury. Reckless Fury is the card that spends your armor. Like it gets rid of it, but it clears the board for whatever your armor is. So if you have 8 armor, it'll do 8 damage to the whole board, but you lose your armor. So it's one of those cards that can really be negative late game. So if you're trying to outlast somebody or outvalue them and you have like 21, 30 armor or something like that, you definitely don't want to play Reckless Fury because if you're approaching fatigue and you get rid of that armor, you kind of put yourself at a major disadvantage. So you gotta be careful how you use it.
This too. You can combo with your armor up for just getting 4 and then wiping for 4 for 5 mana.
Sure.
And the other combo is using whatever you have and then using shield block after to get 5. I've seen that also be a thing. Or you can just use shield block flurry, depending on what you were looking for. But usually
you probably never go shield block flurry, right? Because you have a hero power, right?
Yeah,
unless you needed 5. Unless you needed 5.
Unless you hero power.
It's
and
usually the
block,
other way around.
And flurry.
Usually you're gonna like hero power flurry, shield block.
Yeah, that's probably what I would do. Shield block is primarily in there for card draw. Because the thing about this deck is it doesn't have a lot of the traditional card draws like Battle Rage or what is it? Slam? What is it? What's it?
No slams, no Battle Rage.
No, yeah, so
just Acolyte of Pain.
Acolyte of Pain, the only draw you have is Shield Block, Acolyte of Pain, and we'll talk about her in a minute, but it has Countess in it, and Harrison. That's it. So it doesn't mean you're going to draw cards, but it can draw you enough. You just have to use it smartly, if you will. Well, and I guess you could count Stonehill Defender and possibly the Direhorn Hatchlings, which we'll get to in a second, as draw, but it's really more value. It's giving you something.
And at least the Trailblazer.
A little bit unknown, or at least when you're going to get it. At least the Trailblazer, same story. But I don't know if they're necessarily draw, if you will. Let's see. Stonehill Defender's obviously good inclusion. Good early game, probably a keep versus most decks.
Looking
so
for more
Direhorns up in your hands.
I have a question just briefly. So Stonehill Defender, you have it in Warrior. What are the ones that you're seeing a lot that are really good that are kind of Warrior specific?
You can get more Direhorns. You can get
Tarlord.
Let's see, Primordial Drakes.
Is Tarlord a Warrior card?
Yeah.
No, it's just new. Tarlord. Oh yeah, Tarlord is. There's a neutral. Was there a neutral one?
Well, I'm just telling you what are the more frequent Warrior ones you're going to be seeing.
Yeah. Like it shows up more often in Discover because it would be Warrior.
Those are the only 2, I'm pretty sure. But Chad can feel free to correct me. It's literally just Tarlord and Hatchling. You're going to see those more than anything else.
That's pretty good, though.
Yeah. So, I mean, play on curve. Try to plan ahead on what kind of minion you might want, because maybe the Primordial Drake isn't the best one, but if you're playing a Paladin, it probably is, because you're going to need to clear it. It's just another board clear, right?
Drakes are good.
Zola the Gorgon. Interesting conclusion. Tired. Inclusion with the I, capital I, kids. Is that there's a lot of really, really good targets in here. My first thought was, Direhorn Hatchling is probably the best target because you target that, you get a Direhorn, and you get another Direhorn Matriarch that goes into your deck. So you get a lot of value. You get a 6 and a 6/9 that gets filtered into your deck. Because basically, by the time you're worrying about the Gorgon, coming out, you're late in the game and you have all the mana you need. So cool, Direhorn Matriarch, pop it down, and they have to go through a 6/9, which can be really backbreaking for some decks. You put at least the Trailblazer, target her. You get another Ngoro pack, which means you get 5 more cards. You can put another Harrison if you need to blow up multiple weapons, like if it's like a rogue or something. Even Muck Hunters, which are in there later, are good because if you have to just be clearing boards, there's a lot of really, really strong targets for Zola. So it's a really, really good inclusion. I would say it's still a flex spot. I think you can run the deck without it, but I think that you have just a fair amount of less value that you just won't have if you don't have her in there.
Zola obviously gives you value for days.
Yep. Brawl is the obvious inclusion. It's like if you're running control warrior, you got to have Brawl. It's been proven to be
Bread and butter.
one of the bread and butter of. Thank you, Eve, of this deck. Because you can only do so much with whirlwinds and things like it in trading. Sometimes you just gotta, hit the big reset button. Darius
Cornered
Crowley.
Sentry. Okay, hey, let me cut you off here. We got French Toast coming in hot with the Discover Mechanics, Cornered Sentry, Direhorn Hatchling, Gem-Studded Golem. That's the 6/9 that can only attack if you have a certain amount of armor, and then the Ordinary Direhorn, which is the 6-mana 5/5 with
Okay, so Cornered Sentry, that's the one that brings out 3/1/1 Raptors when she comes out, I think, right?
for standard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
2/6
Yeah,
with 3
okay.
Raptors. Yep.
I have never seen Gem-Studded Golem. It must be super expensive. It's like 8 mana or
It's
something.
0/9. It's brand new.
No. You're thinking of a different card.
Oh.
That's the
0/9
unpowered
is a
Steam
neutral.
bot.
Oh yeah,
It's
the
neutral.
Gem-Studded Golem's the one that can only attack.
It's a 6/9 that
5
can only
armor or
attack
more.
with you have 5 armor or more.
Right.
It's a 6
That card's
mana.
pretty strong.
It's a good card.
And in
It's
this
a
deck,
wall.
that wouldn't be hard to do.
It's fine if you don't put it
5/9,
in your
sorry.
deck. If you just
5/9.
get it off of the card.
Darius Crowley.
Okay, so back on track. Thanks,
Back on
Toast.
Thank you.
Darius Crowley is, you want to think of him more as removal. Don't value him too much in terms of like, I want to kill a little guy and then like have him get big and grow and then win games, because that's not
No.
really why he's in there. He's basically
Kill something.
removal on a stick that has a
That's
potential
not your
of getting out of hand.
purpose. You're not trying to kill your opponent. You're trying to destroy their soul.
Yes, you're trying to grind them into fine
Also,
powder.
if you really want to do some crazy tempo plays against like lower value or lower like little minion decks that you're trying to clear out with Brawl on turn 10 and after, you can play Brawl into Crowley and kill that thing, and then now you have a threat. So that's a typical good play if they have a full board and you have like a more than 50% chance. You're like, well, they're gonna have some little guy. I'm not gonna drop a minion. I'm just gonna play Brawl and kill it with Crowley, and then now they have a huge threat they have to deal with.
True story. So you can use
That's
this
good.
follow up.
Yeah.
Lord willing, they don't have their Tarantus doesn't be the one minion that survives the brawl. If that's the case, whatevs. You did everything you did, kid. You could try. Direhorn Hatchlings we've already kind of talked about it, but just the value, a 3/6 is for 5 is a really good value, and it puts another body that's a taunt in your deck. At least the Trailblazer is that card where, I don't know about you, but in decks like this deck that is just all about the value game, like you think you're doing good, you're playing against, you're like, okay, I'm surviving this, I'm keeping their armor down, we're doing good, we're getting to fatigue. They drop Elise, they get the pack, they have a huge handful of stuff, and you're like, man. And then they drop something like a Tarantus, because remember, it's an Angoro
happens.
pack. And you're just like,
It has a higher chance of getting legendaries and epics in it.
and you're just like, man, RNG hates me. What is this,
Yeah.
Toki? No, never mind. So
You know
So-
what,
Yes,
Grant? This
it
is
is.
a callback because the first Wallet Warrior had the first Elise in it with the Trail to the Golden Monkey.
yeah.
So having Elise in this deck is such a callback to the
Harrison?
first Wallet Warrior.
Let me
True
just
story.
say, it's not Wallet Warrior without Harrison Jones, my man. It's not.
Well, he's in this one too.
He's in this
so-
one because you got to kill. Literally, weapons are everywhere. That's why you're seeing oozes in everything. If it's not an
Warlock
even
runs
deck,
them. Mage runs them. Of course,
Yes.
Paladin does.
Mage doesn't run a weapon, but they run weapon
Shaman.
hate.
Does Shaman? Actually, Shaman is running one right now.
What about Alaneth?
Yeah, Aldeneth.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, but like,
Although
Harrison
you might
is
want to
my
leave that up,
boy.
right?
Okay.
Like, Grant, would you just leave Alaneth up because it's going to run them to fatigue?
it depends on
or would
when
you
they
kill
drop it, doesn't it?
It just depends. If they drop it on 6, I want to get rid of that sucker.
Okay.
If they drop it later in the game, it just depends on how much armor and what the board state is. I feel like this deck would be, if they get a slow enough start in the mage, I feel like this deck is very, very favored.
Also, to comment a little bit more on Elise, it's less about getting the pack later and actually more about winning the fatigue game now. Because you get that pack in the deck and you're adding another card. You got 2 Direhorn Hatchlings, you're adding those to the deck. So even though you have little bits of card draw with Acolytes, with your value cards like Stonehill and your Shield Block, the idea is to not draw outside of Ashmore and your Shield Blocks. And you just win
Is
outright.
Ashmore gonna draw a Matriarch?
Ashmore will draw your Hatchlings, Crowley, and it has no lifesteal targets. So those are the only things you have in the deck that have Death Rattle and Rush.
It'll also draw the Muck Hunter, by the way.
Oh, the Muck
Ashmore
Hunter.
will.
Yeah, that's right. That's the
This
only
is the
reason that the
Rush
Muck Hunter's in here is so that Ashmore doesn't whiff on not drawing something, generally speaking.
Yeah, she does though. She can. She really can.
She can, but she normally
Is
won't.
she worth it then? Is she worth it? Because
she is definitely the
especially in
least
fatigue,
powerful card in the deck. I will
you're
say
drawing
that.
cards out of your deck,
Yeah.
and that kind of goes against your plan.
I can also
Yeah.
see you can replace Countess Ashmore if you have it with Baron Geddon, because I'll talk a little bit kind of at an addendum when Grant's finished with Fresca's list that I've been playing. Again, not that many games, but I have played it, and it's all in mobile, so I don't have stats for you, so sorry. But,
I could see a world where I'd rather have Baron Geddon any day of the week other than Countess Ashmore, because Ashmore you play her and you might get a couple cards. 2 is the max you're going to get.
yeah.
I'd like her
But,
better
like,
if she had
man,
taunt.
But
Well,
having a
Hunter is still
7/5
good,
body that a paladin or a hunter or a shaman can't leave, because if they leave Geddon there, that's it. GG.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They can't do anything literally. So I mean, I can see and Geddon has been a traditional control warrior card.
Yeah.
So I could see a world where that's good. So Ashmore, we've kind of talked about her.
Ashmore,
There's one
Muck-Hunter,
Gore
Gore-Howl.
Howl in it. Interestingly enough, there's no was it Armory? What's the card that like draws a weapon and like flings like its damage all over the place? What is
Reckless
that? Arsenal? Something like that.
Weapon Arsenal?
That's
I'll look it up.
That's not in this deck. So Gore Howl is to be used traditionally. It's minion removal. There might be a situation where
Deadly Arsenal.
Deadly Arsenal, where there might be a situation where you just got to smack them in the face, and I've had that happen so many times where I forget about my opponent having the possibility of having a Gore Howl, and I think, okay, well, they don't have any like reach, and next thing I know, Gore Howl, face, you die, and I'm like, shoot, but basically you use Gore Howl traditionally for just value removal, and by the time you have it, you hopefully will have a decent amount of armor to where it's not really hurting you to clear minions. So and Baku is just there for the armor. Honestly, it never feels good to play Baku. A 7/8 for 9 just never feels good because you can't even armor on the turn. But the value you get out of
You
the hero
save him
power
for
change
when you're in
is-
fatigue, and then you drop him, and that's the
Yeah,
threat.
exactly.
And then they have to spend removal if they have it on something they
Mhm.
don't want to spend it on. That's what you use Baku
Right.
for, because it's 9
Sure.
attack. So it's a
So
9/7, right? Or am I wrong? Is it a 7/9? Chat, help me out. We'll move on. Eve, go
Baku's
ahead
a
and ask your
7/8.
question.
Baku's
7/8. Okay.
So when
Yeah.
you play this deck, how important is it to you to like whenever you can hero power?
7/8. Okay.
Well, I guess it just depends on the state of the board or you have to really kind of think about, like, okay, do I want to spend my mana on my hero power? Because if I spend it on there, what's the overall effect? Am I just going to get because sometimes you spend you get armor and your opponent does nothing to you the turn. In that case, you kind of just got more life, right, that they have to deal with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it, if you're hero powering when you should be putting a minion down, like let's say you have 4 mana and it's hero power or players Stonehill Defender.
Yeah.
Well, good Hearthstone technique or tactics would say you play the minion because you have to give your opponent something to go against. If you just put 4 armor up, you've done nothing, and they have another chance to build their board even bigger, without having any penalty.
Yeah.
So you don't just armor for the sake of armoring. Like, you squeeze it in where you can for sure. And in late game, it's gonna help you survive. That's just
Depending
kind of
on
what
the
it is. And,
matchup,
and the matchups has a lot to do
you
with
just
what
basically
you're doing
just do it as often as possible. Like you're basically dictating your curve by saying 2 mana is going to the hero power, and then what? Like that's a lot of the turns that you're going to be doing. And generally speaking, it's kind of like I might need the board right now in order to do this. Otherwise, I'm just going to armor up and brawl, something like that. Now, I would like to discuss this a little bit parallel to Grant's, but I want Grant to have a little bit more floor time to talk about matchups. A little bit more so.
Yes. What is the worst matchup for this deck?
Well,
I would say tall boards are really tough for you to deal with.
Druid.
Well, definitely. Tall boards are definitely, anybody who can run a tall board is hard. And the reasoning is because
Can we explain what tall board means?
I knew that was coming.
that's an excellent question, Eve. Gold star for you. A tall board versus a wide board. This is our beginner terminology section of the day, I guess. A wide board is where you have lots of minions. Usually
7.
like 7 minions, and a lot of times wide boards they go wide early because that's what the decks are usually designed to do. So usually you get a lot of like 1/1s and 2/2s or something like that. When we say go tall instead of wide, we'd rather have minions with more health and more attack that can sustain damage and kind of avoid a lot of common AoE or removal. So if you can go tall, that's better. when we played when Tempo Rogue was the thing, we always wanted to go tall. You want to get 2 or 3 tall minions out. That way,
So more health, more
health.
attack, and less of them.
Yeah, there's less of them. They take more resources because they're more valuable.
Mhm.
So a zoo deck almost never goes tall.
Right.
Because it's
Paladin
not
doesn't go tall, they go wide.
Paladin
But Druid goes tall.
Yep. So that's the slang. So tall means bigger minions with more health, more stats. Wide means usually. I mean, you could still go wide with a lot of minions, but it's hard to do that with like big fatties.
What about Quest Rogue?
Now, Quest Rogue is sort of
that's
the
after you
aberration
get
here.
After you
Because
get the crest off.
Quest Rogue has the ability, once they get their quest off, to be tall and wide. So
what I will say here, I said this in the chat, but Grant, I think this is a matchup where you armor up every turn, and then they drop the quest, and hopefully they have a good board, or a big enough board, and they kind of go all in, and you brawl, and then they reload, and then you Reckless Flurry, and you win the game. So you have to do.
You save to remove like at least
you know what,
their
though?
boards,
They can't. They have to play into you poorly so that you can brawl them, and then they play into it like you don't have the second brawl. Maybe you do, but you really need to have at least one brawl and one Reckless Flurry to even have a chance, and you wait for it post quest.
You know what though? I really feel like a good Quest Rogue player wouldn't do that though.
That's what I
Quest
mean.
Rogue player, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're talking about somebody who would do that is somebody who's learning the deck. Somebody who's good at it would never do that. You know what I mean?
But I mean, if somebody's playing Quest Rogue between rank 25 to rank 4, even I would say they're very not. I mean, they're not that great at playing Quest Rogue.
Well, to be fair, and Quest Rogue is hard.
It's
so
super hard deck to play.
Well, here's my thing playing against you is I'm afraid that if I don't be aggressive enough, you're going to armor up out of reach because I have a finite amount of resources and
Sure.
your armor just goes on forever. So if
Yeah.
I don't get your health down, you're just going to keep armoring up and slowly move out of
Yeah.
my reach. And
They
then
have
I'm
to
not
do a
gonna be
lot
able
of
to kill
bursts
you.
with like.
So yeah, there has to be a certain amount of board committance. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
if you play too safely, you run out of cards and then they're just armoring up out of reach.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like generally speaking too, if you draw Darius Crowley in time to like interact with one of their guys and they don't have any way to kill it before quest, you can probably get a bunch of free chip damage in and kind of just ignore their board or make like a really big Darius and then punch them. And then if they go wide, you got MC techs for that. So you do have a little bit of capability, but remember, you will not MC tech a 5/5. It will be a 1/1 or a 1/2. Because the buff is
When it
passive on their
comes
board.
to you, the buff goes away?
The buff goes
yes,
away.
the buff goes away.
That's
And you
how
just,
Quest Rogue
that.
works.
It's like, yeah, there's weird little rules with Quest Rogue. You cannot silence a Quest Rogue minion.
Right.
Rasika
I knew
is
that,
correct
but
in
I
the
didn't
chat.
know that it shrunk when it came to your side of the board.
Yeah, Versika's right though. Tempo Warrior runs over Quest Warrior, but this one, or sorry, Quest Rogue, but this Warrior has a lot of hard time. But let me go to Fresca's list here. I'm gonna try to pull it up.
What differences? I
And-
mean, I know you got Baron Geddon. What else
So-
we got?
I have to change the deck on the stream, which is part of my issue here. So on the stream, if you look here, Fresca's list has a bit more going on in
Lemons
that
ooze.
he has a lot more tempo and a lot more hate cards, which seem out of place, and I want to describe them. So this deck has 2 Town Criers because it wants to get on the board and it wants to draw a Rabid Worgen, which is the 3-mana 3/3 with Rush for Warriors, or it wants to grab Crowley. So basically, you're mulliganing super hard for these cards. You really want Criers, you really want Whirlwinds, or you really want an Ooze against particular matchups, because on 2, you're armoring. Every time. Always. And unless you have the coin, and then you can play a 3-mana card. And you never ever, like the Blackwell Pixie in the deck that you're seeing is my inclusion because I didn't have a second BGH. This deck actually runs 2 BGHs. And you're like, BGH, who plays that card? It's 2018.
Big
People
game
who
hunter.
really hate Spiteful decks. This will kill everything that
I
comes out
hate
of Spiteful.
spiteful decks.
Every single card that comes out of Spiteful you can kill. So that means turn 4, turn 4 is irrelevant because they can't Spiteful until turn 6. If they coin on 5
Yeah.
in Spiteful, you can play this on 5 and still kill it. So you're coming out ahead. And again, you have Brawls, you have Darius, you have Direhorns, you have Elise, you have Harrison, you have Baku. But guess what else you have? You have double Whirlwinds and King Mosh for a combo late game. You also have King Mosh, he said...
Baron Geddon would work with Mosh.
He said the
too.
second BGH and King Mosh were the worst cards in the deck. Worst performing cards. So he said a lot of times King Mosh just kind of just comes out. And he said, I asked him about, I didn't ask him about anything else besides the Blackwall Pixie. He says, if you're switching out one BGH for Blackwall and you're not seeing a whole lot of Spiteful, that's good. That's fine. Because it gives you the late game of just going +8 and get a 3/4. I also wonder, in some cases, if you just want to, like, it kind of depends on what you want, because it's a 7-mana play regardless. I kind of want to cut Pixie and put in a Clockwork Automaton, because it essentially does the same thing. But, or actually, if you're running this mindset, you're thinking I want to run a Clockwork Automaton, don't, because it says healing and damage. Armor doesn't count, so Blackwall Pixie is why you're seeing it in Warrior and not the Clockwork.
It doesn't heal you; it armors you. It doesn't count.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, very funny, Versika, Azalina Soul Thief doesn't work with the quest cards too, because they become regular weenie minions. Yeah, that's right.
Unless you grab their quest.
You can't grab the quest on turn 7, Eve. They've already played it.
But they might not have. It might be in their hand. I'm saying if the quest
that
is
would
in
be
their
detrimental
hand
to
and they haven't
you.
played it yet.
You don't want any. All of your minions are bigger than 5/5. And then you're basically like making
Quest
your bigger
Rogue works
minions
because
lower.
of its charge minions and the lifesteal
And
minions
it's
and
rush
stuff
minion,
like that.
yeah. So
Cheap
in
stuff
this deck, it differs in gameplay because it has more tempo and it has more hate against early stuff. You're going to kill the weapons. You're going to interact with the board at the same time with the Gluttonous Oozes. And you're going to run Town Criers to hopefully pull off your Rabid Worgans and have some form of a board. And then you have ways to interact with people that go super wide. Then you have some walls with Stonehill Defenders. You got BGHs for big mid-game threats, which you don't necessarily need, again, if it's mainly Spiteful. And then you get run over by Quest Rogue. Like, it's literally the only matchup that he said. Fresca told me, he's like, I love killing Warlocks with this deck. It's super easy. And so I don't know how he does it, but I guess the armor just puts you out of reach just perpetually. And then
he's
King
got
Mach
2
Whirlwind.
Ironbeak Owls in there too.
Yeah, you got double
Baron
Ironbeaks.
Geddon is pretty good for getting rid of everything.
Well, yeah, because against Warlock, Warlock doesn't do a lot in the first 3 or 4 turns.
Yeah.
Turn 5 is when they really
tempo.
start doing stuff that's actually like important to their game.
You basically against Warlock, he said you mulligan super hard for oozes. If you get the ooze, you win, because then they have to discard 2
you
cards.
kill their...
Yeah. And also, you can mulligan for Harazim. Like, he has 3 weapon hate cards in this deck. That's pretty gross. And he said the reason was because he was running against a ton of Rogue. Not Quest Rogue, Aggro Rogue. This is crazy good against Aggro Rogue, I think. And I really like the idea of putting Azalina Soul Thief over King Mosh, because I've seen a couple highlight reels. If you're playing against Warlock and you have Azalina Soul Thief, you're like, well, I've got a +4/4 hero power, and I would like to have that Gul'dan hero power, please, and thank you. So, for what it's worth, you could do that.
Does your hero power stay updated?
French just said that minions stolen from Quest Rogue stay 5/5.
Interesting.
And gave
Okay.
proof.
Okay. Well, we got to hear live on the show. Thanks, Toast. But anyways,
I appreciate that. That's cool.
Yeah, little sidebar. But anyways, these are 2 really good warrior decks, in my opinion, that will help you out if you really want to kill Spiteful lists and you really want to kill Paladins, and you want to have a chance against some of the faster rogues. This is your deck. Now, I haven't tested this against the new aggro mage that's been going around. We even talked a little bit about that. We might talk about that next week.
That was
right,
my
Grant?
next question. How does it do against aggro mage?
In theory,
even
it probably
mage.
in theory it probably does fine, because I mean, while they have a lot of burn, like if you can put some taunts to absorb any of their stuff, like their cinders, the 5-cost one that does Cinder Blast, whatever it is. I mean, eventually, if you have 20 or 30 armor, they can't touch you.
Yeah,
they can't because they're kind of calculated on getting you down, so they're gonna just like dump everything into your face. So you just have to just manage it and make sure that you just keep your health up.
Yeah, because they can heal. Like, I'm thinking of Control Mage now. They can heal when they get their elementals down, but you can armor up, and that puts you beyond health.
Well, that's why Control
Like, they can
Warrior
only
is
go to a certain-
could dumpster like most mages for the most part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like armor is impervious to Alexstrasza.
Right.
So yeah, okay, I have 30 armor, but you knock my health down to 15. What do I care? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah. So again, flex spots for Fresca's list. King Mosh. Again, Elise, he said, is an average card. You can probably swap that out if you don't have it. Those are like legendary cards. He said that a lot of people will ask questions about. The second BGH, he said, is potentially there, but he says you could even cut both if you're not seeing any Spitefuls. That's fine. If Spiteful kind of just dies off, which likely it won't, then you can cut it. He said there is some. I think he said that the Shield Slams have been like insane MVP cards in this deck, and you really like the hardest part of the deck is managing Shield Slams, Reckless Flurries, and your armor. That's what you really need to play around, and how to use Shield Block effectively. Those are the hardest things of the deck. Again, King Mosh, not only is it a card that's very replaceable, but it's a card that you can be very, very comfortable with tinkering. It is the 30th card of the deck, or 31st card, I guess you say, because there's a bunch of other cards you can mess with.
I think if the boards start all going tall, I think King Mosh could be super good because then you keep it, you keep a Whirlwind.
I've also asked him about. Oh, sorry, Grant. Go ahead.
I'm supposed to say the Whirlwind is good for early boards, but it's also good for late boards. But you don't want to use it early on a deck that you know that's going to go up because there's no executes in the deck.
Yeah, we talked about a bunch of other cards. He's like, it depends on what you're seeing, but you can play like a Faceless Manipulator. Like maybe that's something you want to include. I don't know. It depends on how tall or wide boards are getting.
It's kind of Faceless Manipulator is kind of playing the role of Zola the Gorgon in some cases.
Yeah, Zola gets you a play again version of it, and I can see Zola working really well with Baron in that case, but it's tempo negative. So like if you play against, like I played against an odd Paladin on my first game, and I was like, I'm seeing Paladins all day. This is exactly what I picked to counter them, and guess what? Baron Geddon on curve killed his whole board, and then he played into it again for some reason, and thought he could kill it the following turn. And guess what? My Baron sat there on the board for 6 turns. And I'm still gaining 2 armor.
Spicy.
And all I did was hit him over and over and over with Baron Geddon. He kept walling me out. I was like, I don't care. I'm just going to do 2 with this thing. They have no healing in that deck. So.
Yeah, if they don't get their board early and like oppressive early, they can't win.
If you really hate Paladin, play this. It's so good against Paladin.
I hate Paladin right now.
I've been playing Soleil's like new version of the Hadronox Druid and played against a Warlock yesterday, and that felt really nice. This is again 50-50 against Warlock, but generally speaking, you're pretty favored since you have some tempo cards and some silence. It rolls it out, and you can kind of deal with the weapon hate. But yeah, people are cutting.
I think
I'm gonna try
it. Priest with the Mind Blast is kind of starting to edge towards my most hated deck to play against, because it's one of those ones where you feel like you're winning for a lot of the game, and then in one turn, they just out of hand destroy you. That one feels bad to lose against.
Master
and then, of
Blaster.
Course, yep, the Master Blaster. And then, of course, Warlock is just still everywhere. Still oppressive, still annoying.
Warlock's still good. Newsflash, or not.
Okay, Eve, did you want to do any like 5 to 10 minute notes on your lore this week, and then hopefully this coming week I will be able to roll through a bunch.
I was running through Legion right now. I've never played Legion, so I was running through all the content, and I ran into this kobold cavern, which was like full of candles everywhere and kobolds everywhere. It was really neat. I was like, okay, when did Legion come out? Was that before or after Kobolds and Catacombs? Was it at the same time? Because
Legion
there were so many. But we also know that they have expansions like ready to go and made before they come out, like several months before. Yeah. So that's why I was trying to like do math in my head. Anyway, I go into this cavern and there's a circle of dark candles with like purple flames. And as you walk up to them, you can interact with them. So I put out all of the candles and this darkness appeared in the middle. It was like, its name was Consuming Darkness. I was like,
nice.
Okay, this is exactly right out of Hearthstone. So which came first, the chicken or the egg? And then I also ran into Sir Finley Murgleton,
who was put into the Legion after he was in the game, right?
Exactly.
In Hearthstone.
They enjoyed his character so much that they put him in Legion after they saw him in Hearthstone. So he's like the only Murloc you talk to that will talk back to you in clear and very dignified English. So that was really neat.
Awesome.
If I run into any more Hearthstone cards, I will be sure to take screenshots. And of course, I saw a lot of Gen Greymane. He's a lot in Legion, tearing after Sylvanas.
Inhuman
and
Worgen form.
Yeah. Lots of screenshots of him in human and worgen form, and his daughter, Tess Greymane, as well.
Also, this is a kind of a weird question for more of like Blizzard devs. Because he is a worgen and the king of the worgens, or whatever it is, the leader of the worgens. I know it's kind of dumb, but couldn't you just like let him have the worgen text? I know maybe it's because it's too cluttered on the card text, but couldn't you just at least give him the worgen thing where he just switches his attack and health and goes to human to worgen form on the card? It's a mess because of the the effect that he has on the card text.
agree
would
with
be
you.
super long.
I agree with you because it would be super cool to see him in his human form, like as King Gen, and then the next time turn over to like his awesome worgen form. That would be really cool. But the fact that it already does something else, and then on top of that is a worgen, I think it's a bit too much.
It is,
Yeah.
But it's still flavor. It's super cool. Eve, did you see the
Yes.
Tess interaction with when you play Tess in the Monster Hunt yet?
Oh, when he sees his daughter? When
Yeah.
Gen like starts talking to her and tells her like, "Be careful, you're my only daughter." Yeah, I was like, "Oh,
Very lore specific.
that's sweet." Yeah, really cool.
All right,
and
guys.
Tess is not a worgen. She's like one of the
Yeah.
very few Gilneans who never got bit or hurt, so she
mhm.
doesn't turn into a worgen.
And don't forget, Prince Liam is the son of Greymane, right? It
Yes.
just doesn't say Greymane on his card. He's the Paladin legendary that changes your 1 mana cards.
Yes, that's
Cards
true. Because
into
he was killed
Legendaries.
jumping in front of Sylvanas' poison arrow. Took an arrow for his dad. So
Took an arrow to the knee.
that, as far as I know so far, he is not in World of Warcraft at all as like a ghost. You can't see him in spectral form, but it could definitely happen that they're like, "Oh, that's a neat idea." A lot
It's a
of people
matter of
really
time.
liked Liam. They really might
Yep.
like to see him again.
Yep.
That could be cool. Yeah.
Well, folks, I think it's about that time. We got to wrap up some things this week. We have no new patrons and no new iTunes reviews, so please send them in. Patreon.com/VelensChosen is how you can financially support us and helping Eve get
Help me
cards
buy
for
more
UHL,
packs.
as well as just playing the game and being able to play Warrior. She's already full committed to Druid, so that's maybe why, is because she has to start getting Druid cards again to play her Spiteful
This
deck.
is
It
true.
wasn't too hard because it plays like what, a grand total of 4 Druid cards.
Yeah, but the ones that are in there are super expensive. They're either
Yeah.
legendary or epic.
UI.
So, yeah.
Yep. If you can, please do that. It helps us tremendously. Like, I can't tell you. We just paid some bills already. We're working on settling some things on our affiliate status. You can see us on YouTube now. You can follow our live shows. Typically, they're on Saturday nights around, Grant, what's the central time that we start?
9 o'clock Central Time.
9 o'clock Central. Sometimes it'll bump around, but typically that's the form is Saturday night. We also will have those follow up next on YouTube again. You can catch the VODs and the highlights. Been having a lot of fun making the thumbnails for this show, by the way. It's been really cool. I found some high definition graphics to mess with, and even Grant really
always
liked the
look so
Hadronox
cool,
one from
Rob.
last week.
Yeah.
So
They always look so
if you guys want to do that, you can check us out there. Check the website for anything you want. Okay, this is side note. I get so many questions. Where's the deck code? Where's the deck code? I put them in every show note, guys. Every time. They're not in the Discord always, but please go to the website, VelensChosen.com. Click the most recent tab. There's deck codes. There's links. I have everything in there. And it's also, if you're using Overcast, #sellout, the best Overwatch, or sorry, not best Overwatch, the best podcasting app. You have like hyperlinks you can just tap in there. Because I have it all in there. It's the best podcasting app for
I
show notes.
want to say they have the same thing in iTunes, honestly. Like if you go to the description
They probably
of
do.
the episode, it goes down and then it has like an abbreviated form of the show notes, I think. Pretty sure.
So VelensChosen.com, if you're looking for links to the show or links to anything that we make, VelensChosen.com/links. It's very, very
yeah,
simple.
VelensChosen.com.
Wow.
VelensChosen.com.
Mhm.
Really easy to remember and find. VelensChosen.com. And if you become a patron, you get access to all of the lore moments that have not yet become public for the
And
general
there's a lot
public.
of them, folks, because guess who's on back order? Me. I have back ordering for
yeah.
the public.
In the vault right now, we have, I believe, Medivh, the War of the Ancients, and Illidan, which is the one that I just finished. I think it was last week.
Yep.
Um,
And one's
also, if I
cooking.
didn't say it, if I didn't say it last week, I've put up a couple more episodes of Lore Story Time on our YouTube channel, which is where I read aloud the World of Warcraft Chronicles because I've had some people ask me for that. I am sorry that I misquoted last week that the person who bought me the book asked me to read it. He did not. That was somebody else.
Yeah.
He kind of sent me a little message and said, I didn't send it with any strings. I just wanted to give you a gift. It wasn't like you
I just
must
wanted
now
to be a
do
nice
this.
guy.
You must now
I
do
did a
this
thing.
for
Now
me.
you owe me.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to misrepresent you. Yeah, so it wasn't him. He did do that. It was like a couple other people who said this would be really cool if you did this thing. And so yeah, I've been reading out loud like Lore Story Time, the World of Warcraft Chronicles. That's on our YouTube page.
You
Yeah,
can
that's
get this book if you serve time in prison for 10,000 years. All right, guys, that's gonna do it. If you want to find us, I gave you all this stuff there. Grant, where can people find you? And why don't we do shoutouts this week?
Sounds like a plan. You can find me. Sorry, getting late. Had a rough night last night. Didn't sleep. Let's see. Find me at Watchman HS on Twitter. Battle.net Watchman #1140. Special shout out to French Toast. They're in our Discord right now. Back in December when I was grinding Legend with Q Block before it was the hotness, I ran into Toast on the ladder and we played back-to-back games. And they won one and I won one. And it was fun. And I friend requested and said, hey, you should come and check out the Velen's Discord. And they said, really? Sweet. I'll go check it out now. And then they did. And shout out, just hit Legend like today. So
yes.
So basically the moral of the story, kids, haven't hit Legend.
You need a
You
friend
want to.
Grant and you will get good things.
Yeah. Don't even friend me if you don't. Just like jump in the Discord and be an active participant because you will gain. There's a proverb that says iron sharpens iron. And when you are trying to do it by yourself, sometimes you miss things, and sometimes you get despondent and you just need a friend or a colleague or somebody to come along and say, hey, no, you can do this. Somebody who's gone before, who's been there to pick you up and pull you along and make it happen. So shout out to them. Shout out to one of my students I was coaching them this week, and they helped me discover, check this out. If you are a rogue and you switch to Jiraxxus, you become a warlock hero power or a warlock hero card, and then you play Tess Greymane, she casts rogue cards. Which you would not, because you're now a warlock.
Jiraxxus. Yeah.
So everything that you cast up until that point is now not a card from your deck.
So the game was sweet. My student was playing control warlock, like a legit control warlock, fully rigged up. The kid has all the cards, and he's playing this Timmy rogue that's got like all the like steal your stuff kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, he stole the rogue player got a Jiraxxus.
Oh gosh.
Got Jiraxxus, and we're thinking, and then of course while he has Jiraxxus, he vanishes his board and does all kinds of that rogue shenanigans. And it was looking like it could go either way. And then they played Tess Greymane, and Tess Greymane played Pickpacket a bunch of times, and then filled up his hand with a bunch of stuff, and then vanished his whole board, and it poof went up in smoke. And we're like, wait, how did it play vanish? We're like, oh, Tess Greymane casts the spells that it cast that weren't your class, and it's like, but you're not a rogue anymore. So it was pretty cool to discover that interaction.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know that could happen. So if you steal a Death Knight and then you cast Tess Greymane, you get all the stuff you played. So
sick.
It was fun.
That's cool.
So I'm done.
Tess
Go ahead.
Greymane will also play Lich King cards because Lich King cards are not from your deck, but she will not play Ysera cards.
She'll also play the
makes no sense.
I think she'll play the pedal cards, won't she? Or the Razor Petal Asher cards?
Anything that's not from your
She
class.
should play Ysera if she plays Lich King. There's no reason that
she should,
play.
but she doesn't. So that might be a hot fix coming up.
That's a fix. Yeah.
Hot.
Yeah.
Fix.
Okay.
Okay, my shout out, which is a nice segue from what you were saying, Grant. If you come to our Discord, you can get support. I had a really bad week last week to the point where I was like, I'm not going to play Hearthstone anymore. Like, I was so angry and so frustrated for reasons. And a bunch of people, including Ridiculous Hat and Mike Lowe, and just like a bunch of people in our Discord, Samurai Flea and novelists, people were reaching out to me, like trying to get me to calm down and just being really nice and supportive and talking me off the ledge. And that's the kind of thing you have access to if you come to our Discord, is when you have those moments when you're just raging and you just need somebody to go, I hear you. I hear you. It's frustrating. I know what you're going through. I've been there too. And to talk you off the ledge. So shout out to everybody who kind of reached out to me and was really kind when I was having a really hard, frustrating time on ladder this week.
Where can people find Eve?
On Twitter at LoreMasterEve, and I used to stream on my Twitch, but now I'm doing it all on Valen's Chosen Podcast Twitch. So whenever I go on there to play and stream, that's where you can find me.
All right, and you can find me with the tag NotRob for Twitter and Instagram. If you like Overwatch, you can find that at Omnic Lab. We just did a game show during the game night this last week. It was a lot of fun. If you like trivia, we did something very, very different than your normal Overwatch show. Give away a bunch of prizes, which I still need to send, and had a lot of fun in the game night, killing people with new heroes that just got buffed and changed. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah, I think that's going to do it. I will get with some of the lore moments, just as a disclaimer. We'll be shuffling out. I might even shuffle out one a day this week. I think I'm back on 3, right, Eve? You got 3 finished that I haven't posted?
Yep.
So I think I'm going to try to post all 3 of them this week. So you guys are going to get a lot of Velens this week. I may
All
not,
the Velens.
I may not, depending on how long they are, but I'm definitely going to edit all of them and have them ready on the website, and then I'll post them.
I was going to say, just hold on to Illidan a little longer, so it's just for our patrons for a little while.
Okay,
the rest of them have been in the vault for a while, like Medivh and War of the Ancients are good to come out, but
Cool.
I just finished Illidan, so I think that should just be for our patrons for a bit.
Cool. So I'll give you
Makes
the I'll give you one on Wednesday and one on Friday, and that's kind of the way I'll try to do it this week. All right, guys.
Sounds
Thanks
good.
again for tuning in for Velen's Chosen. And remember, not all who wander are lost. We will see you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Grant, are you out next week or the week after?
I'm out next week. I have to go to a water park with my band, and I'm not going to be back till crazy late, so there's no way I can make the show, unfortunately. So don't unsub. No. Oh, look at me. I'm
let's
so
find
great.
a cool
No.
guest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll
hopefully we
see.
can maybe find somebody to sub, but yeah.
I'll be trying to
But
work
yeah,
some
I'm
magic
sorry
with some
not to-
community people.
It's the first episode that I'll have missed since I started the show.
You're such an overachiever, Grant. You make us all look
Story
bad.
of my life.
Take a vacation.
Wow. I'm not an
I'm working.
overachiever. I just dedicated to my hobbies, apparently.
Yeah.
So
Hey, if you become what's the good patron level to get on the show, Rob? If you
The
become a
$5
$10
level?
patron,
$5
a
level.
$5 level, we'll bring you on the show this week.
oh jeez. Have everybody on the show.
Well, let's get out of here. Not all wander are lost. Hold on to your britches and keep redoing your turn, and hopefully you don't get as angry as I did at Toki. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.
I'm trying to get the music to play, guys. Sorry, it's not working.
Oh, dang, Fresca. Should have done a shout out and been like, yeah,
I gave him a
Fresca was
shout
a
out
great
during the game.
opponent. Okay, good. I was going to say, good opponent this
So
week.
I mean, he
Lots of fun.
said he was in the chat.
my head is killing me.
Fun
Yeah.
time.
I'm barely making
right.
it.
There is no music, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and shut down the stream. Grant's feeling awful. I just took some meds, and I'm kind of still out there. And then maybe I can go bang my head into the wall some more. I mean, play Toki. So I'll see you guys. See you guys.
May all your rolls be high rolls.